am again several years later after my last video from demonstrating my Ibanez musician. It's several years and kilos later, but never mind that. This is my latest acquisition, which I want to talk about. It's Epiphone Masterbilt Century DeLuxe, which is an acoustic archtop. It can also be amplified, but its main purpose is to be acoustic. And this was a series of guitars. There were 4 different models of them. I couldn't find them on the Epiphone website anymore, so I suppose they're discontinued. But this Century series was basically a tribute of the guitars that made Epiphone famous before they were became Gibson budget brand in the early 50s. And in 1930, before that, they were at least as prestigious, if not slightly more even than Gibson itself. And the kind of guitars they had to make in the 1930s were to be more or less heard still in a big band, and a big band is loud, I can tell you. I've played as a stand-in guitarist in a big band for multiple years, and makes a lot of noise. And actually it's hard for me for an acoustic guitar to imagine to be heard at all in a big band. But anyway, they wanted some rhythmic punch in it. And that's why Epiphone started to make these really big acoustic guitars. This one doesn't fit in a normal case, you have to get a special one for it. Which this really punchy sound. You could already hear it in the little song I played first, but I'll demonstrate it a bit more. So it's you can play normal on it, it sounds agreeable. But you really hear the difference when you start playing these more rhythmical jazz patterns like and then I'll demonstrate it. It really, on a flat top, it doesn't at some point make that much difference anymore how hard you strike the strings. With this one, it's really dynamic. You can. It really is very percussive if I strike it hard, and that was the original design for these guitars. My personal reason to buy it, it is the first more or less impulse buy with a purchase with a guitar that I did. I happened to walk into the music store buying strings, which I could get online as well, but I do that because I like to see what kind of guitars they have. I saw this one, and at first I thought, well, it must be one of those modern, really good looking but often not very interesting sounding guitars, because that's what they can do nowadays. Also, the really not very expensive guitars, they still look very well, and this undoubtedly looks very well. I played it shortly and it sounded much better than I thought. I was really pleasantly surprised by it. It has a nice full lead tone. But yeah, I thought, well, yeah, what do I need it for? I already have enough guitars. You can't see it, but behind there are all my guitars stored behind the cupboard, and it's hard to fit any new ones in it. But the one thing I missed with my normal flat top steel string guitars was the lead sound. It always becomes a bit thin, and so that played in my mind. When I got home, I looked the guitar up. In the store I saw it was 900 euros, well, I didn't have that lying around at that point. I looked it up on the internet, and then it appeared on the website where I was checking that they also had B stock, and that started at 550 euros. Now that was a different story. The other very interesting thing I discovered is that it actually has a piezo pickup here. It has 2 volume controls here, but you don't see it, so I hadn't noticed that at all when I tested it in the shop. And that changed things because I was playing in a band at that point in which I frequently had to play lead steel string guitar lines, and yes, if I could amplify this one, that would all of a sudden make it a whole different story. The singer of that band, my cousin Paul, encouraged me to buy this guitar, which I eventually did indeed. Well, you've already heard it acoustic. the nice thing is that this also sounds really very good amplified, at least considering it's just a simple piezo pickup, which doesn't always work that great, but it works perfectly with this one. I'll demonstrate that in the next fragment. So this is how this guitar sounds amplified. I'm amplifying it through its piezo pickup. I have two controls here, volume and tone. These I have both turned up completely. And I'm using a little Fishman Loudbox mini amplifier, which I've turned the treble fairly well down because I wanted the amplified sound to come more or less close to the acoustic sound, which is fairly round and thick with a hint of clarity. But if I turn it's set at about 11 to 12. If I turn it up higher, it gets unnaturally bright in my opinion, which would fit a normal acoustic flat top, but not this kind of guitar. So that's by the way, this before I continue about the guitar, this amplifier is well, I'm very satisfied with it. It costs about a bit less than 300 euros if I remember well, between 250 and 300. In its price range it sounds really good. There are more available in that price, and yeah, not all are all that great. This one does a perfect job if you're not in too loud a band, that is. Works perfectly okay in a semi-acoustic band, unplugged band. I once played it in a setting with a bit more serious rhythm section, and then yeah, I struggled a bit to hear myself, so that's something to keep in mind. But apart from that, I could recommend it very strongly, this amplifier. Well, one important little detail that I mentioned is the pick I'm using, which is quite a thick wooden pick. I actually bought it for playing on my 9-string guitars, because ever since several years I can't, the fingers of my right hand don't work that great anymore. So and this gives a really natural sound, which also works very well on this guitar for a jazzy sound. One other detail to pay attention to: you may have noticed this little piece of styrofoam that I put here in this guitar, and that has a function. I'll demonstrate it by taking it away. Acoustically the effect is there as well, but not that prominent. Amplified, however, if I play, you can especially hear it when I play short percussive chords. Very strongly. It's this part of the strings that's resonating, and acoustically it's not a problem, but amplified it gets too prominent. So that's why I put this little piece of styrofoam in when playing amplified, because that gets cancelled out pretty much then. Acoustically I do take it away because it does take away a bit of the liveliness of the sound. So it's yeah, could try other solutions, but this works pretty well and doesn't look too bad either. I think it looks kind of as if it belongs there, so I think that was a nice solution. One last thing I want to mention about this guitar is its playability. You can adjust the bridge height here with these two wheels. And if you set it up right, it appears to be a really fairly... almost play, except for bands, I can almost play this easily as an electric guitar. It's really a very nice, yeah, very well shaped neck that way. So you just set up the action properly, no problem there. So that's the Epiphone Masterbilt Century DeLuxe. Very good guitar, as I said, the first impulse purchase I ever did with the guitars, and it worked out very well. You can hear the song I played first, the acoustic one, that you can actually buy that song online on audiojungle.net. It's staved there under the title Gypsy Swing. Okay, thank you for listening. Until next time.